Welcome to the Helpful Leader Podcast. My name is James Oyola, and I'm glad to be hosting you this evening. Today, we're going to talk about leadership and what really transcends leadership in the corporate sector. I have someone with me this evening who is a powerhouse. She's a global keynote speaker, and she knows what it takes to build teams, not only in the U.S., but in Latin America, as well as Europe. Please join me in welcoming Camila Ferreira.
Wow, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Camila, so thank you for joining us. We're really excited to have you. And let's get right into it. I just want to know, what do you got going on? What are you doing? Tell us about your business.
Absolutely. How many hours do we have? I'm just kidding.
As many as you need.
I'm originally from Brazil, but
Okay.
as you mentioned, I've had the chance to work in a few countries since I left Brazil more than a decade ago. I've lived in a few countries in Latin America, also a short experience in Europe, and now I'm based here in the US.
Okay.
After 25 years in corporate, leading organizations all over the globe, and now have my own business called Rise Up, where I do consulting, mentoring, and keynote speaking about leadership and customer experience.
Wow, that's amazing. So since we're talking about leadership, help me understand, what is your leadership philosophy?
Everything starts with the employee.
Okay.
And particularly, being a customer experience leader, this is something that I learned from my early days, even before I joined customer experience. My background, my foundation is finance. I transitioned into operations after 10 years of my professional life. Since my early days, I understood that people is what makes the difference. We are in the era of AI, artificial intelligence, technology, but at the end of the day, if there is no one behind it, then there is absolutely nothing. So my leadership style is what I call experience-driven leadership,
Okay.
where you start by understanding and shaping and developing and delivering the experience for whoever you work with. Not necessarily the people that you directly manage, but your peers, your stakeholders, your clients at the end of the day. So if you develop this mindset that you were constantly looking for shaping and delivering good experience, then you create an ecosystem of experience that absolutely everybody involved creates the same mindset, and it creates culture.
Oh, culture, mindset. I love that. Where does this perspective from leadership come from? How did you grow into this mentality?
To be honest,
Yeah, please.
let's say that I did not have the best managers throughout my career. So I actually have had the chance to learn from the good and from the bad ones as well.
Okay.
But I think that the not so good managers taught me the person and the leader I did not want to be. And they were as important as the good ones, right? Because every time I went through, I hit the wall. Every time that I felt excluded, every time that I did not feel belonged, it shaped my leadership. And that's exactly the opposite that I do. So everything starts with me understanding who is on the other side of the equation, no matter who this person is. As I said, it can be a client, it can be your direct employee, it can be your teammate, whoever it is by understanding what are the motivations, what are the strengths. And I'm not sure if you like Strengths Finder, but I love Strengths Finder. And my number one strength is maximizer. So I see talents where others do not.
Okay.
And by being like this, I am always very much interested in knowing the story behind that person, what brought that person to that place, to that company, to that department, to that role, and work from there.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you understand the people's motivations, when you map people's skills, people's strengths, and you put the right person at the right place, then business thrive.
Yeah.
I would not only say the person thrives, but business thrive.
Yeah, and that's important because a lot of times we don't think about two types of people groups winning, right? We don't think about the business winning. We don't think about the client winning,
Oh, yes.
with the customer or even the agents or employees themselves. Now, you said you're from Brazil, and as I read earlier, you've been speaking all over the world. What's your take on cross-cultural leadership? What leading internationally or domestically? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. There is something I learned in my first international experience in Colombia that, by the way, love this country. It was one of the most challenging ones. It was the first, right? So first times are challenging. But if there is something that I took with me from Colombia or from that experience is that we see the world the way we are and not the way the world actually is. And this is so important because once you truly understand this, once you kind of embed this to life, then you were constantly challenging the way you see the world.
Yeah.
And the other day, it's so funny, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine with absolutely everything that is going on in the world right now. And she was telling me like politics, religion are always kind of heated topics.
Sure.
And I'm like, I don't get heated, but I get very curious to understand why someone has an opinion completely different than mine. Because these always challenges me on how I'm seeing the world. It doesn't mean I'm going to agree or disagree. It's not about this. It's about kind of expanding.
Right.
And this is exactly what I kind of I keep with me from Colombia. When I went there in my first international experience, I had no mentor or no one to kind of guide me in the unknown, right? Because when you move internationally, you are stepping into the unknown. I had a dream that at some timing point became a nightmare and then became a dream again. It was a roller coaster of emotions. But I understood that one of the main reasons why in some point in time it became a nightmare, it was because I was trying to see the world the way I am, only from the way I am, and not necessarily seeing the world from the different perspectives, like Colombians. How do Colombians see the world? And then later on, having the chance of living in some other countries, I carry that with me. Because if there is a friction, it's mostly because we are seeing the world from a different perspective.
Sure. You said something that's interesting when you were answering that question, that you didn't really have a mentor in Colombia. Throughout your career after that, was there anyone, a man or a woman, that became like a mentor to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I became a mentor myself because I realized the power and the value of having mentors. And I don't only have one, but I have many nowadays.
Tell me a little bit about the one that's made the most impact in your life that you can remember.
I think one of my friends from Brazil, we worked together we met each other in one of the companies that we worked for.
Yeah.
And I think she's kind of 10 or 15 years older than me. And in my early 30s, when I kicked off my international career, as I said, I don't think I had factored in all of the variables of leaving my home country, kind of living by myself in a different country. And she was the one that was kind of constantly grounding me in a way that I think that the role of the mentor is not necessarily to tell you what to do, but ask the questions for you to realize how certain or uncertain you are about things. So yeah, Malu, a super great friend that I carry with me until today. And ever since, I have collected different mentors. So every time I have to make a decision or I want to see the world from a different perspective, I reach out to them.
That's good. Thank you for sharing. I think it's important. I think shout out to her and to those who have led us, that have shown us what it looks like to be a leader. One of the things that we really hold as a core value on the Helpful Leader podcast is leading from a healthy soul, modeling what it means to have compassion, to have kindness, right? Self-awareness. If I can talk about leadership as a superhero and every superhero having a superpower, what would you say your leadership superpower is and why?
Wow. I think it's this ability of putting myself in someone else's shoes, which is not an easy thing. It's something that I cultivate absolutely every time and every day, because it's so much easier to see the world from your perspective.
Right.
It's a lot more comfortable.
Sure.
And we tend to believe that we have the answers, that we know how to do things, but the answer is that we do not. Because there is not only one way, there are multiple ways.
Yeah.
So this, I think, it's my superpower that I have been developing. And I truly believe that pushing myself out of my comfort zone of leaving my home country has helped me a lot to learn this, which I believe I wouldn't have learned at that kind of at that level or as deep as I did by having left my home country.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing that. I love the level of self-awareness. One of the things, that we discuss a lot is vulnerability, and how we believe that that is a superpower that isn't talked about a lot, because to be vulnerable, you have to open yourself up for being hurt. Can you think of a time in your leadership journey where vulnerability led to maybe you being hurt, and how you kind of overcame that in some way?
Yeah, I've had many kind of situations throughout my life. More recently, in one of my international experiences in Mexico, it was a very challenging decision from our family.
Sure.
A good job opportunity for me, but we were already living here in the US, and this would require move once again. At that time, with my kid, with my cat, with my husband, with the furniture, so a whole kind of a package. But my husband very much supported me, and he has been one of my main supporters throughout of my professional life. So we decided to go to Mexico, but it was in the middle of the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah, when everybody was locked home, we were moving internationally. But as you can imagine, because we were in the middle of the lockdown, we could not kind of leave home. We were very much limited in exploring the country, the culture, which of course impacted on our experience. And moreover, unfortunately, we have one of our family members, my father-in-law, that was diagnosed with terminal cancer when we were in Mexico. So there was a lot on the family side, a lot to handle, and not being able to leave home.
Right.
So that's when I had no other option. I went to my manager. I said, you know what, my family is kind of falling apart, and I need to get back to the US, because that's where it's home for us right now.
Right.
Even though it was an amazing professional opportunity that could not be on top of the mental health and the pillars of my family. So we've had a very kind of a hard conversation. Unfortunately, I had a very kind of a short period of time to get back to the US. We couldn't find something for me here. So we ended up coming back to the US while I was still looking for another opportunity. But I do not regret it. It was the best decision, and I learned that I will always prioritize my family no matter what.
Sure.
No matter what.
Sure. There's a man who I respect greatly, and he always talks about, he's actually my pastor, and he talks about prioritizing your priorities.
Yes.
Because we can have 5 things that are all very important, but one of them has to come first. And so, shout out to you for choosing your family. Taking that step of faith, like you said earlier, the unknown.
Yeah.
That's scary for all of us. And so, but it seems like it's paid off well, because you have your business now and you're making a significant impact. I want to talk about communication.
Wow, let's go.
You're a public speaker. One of the things that we value in the Helpful Leader podcast is effective communication. What does effective communication mean to you?
Yeah, it's making sure the other understood the way you should.
Can you say that again?
Yes.
So that I can make sure that you guys understood what she said.
It's to make sure that your audience understood the way you should.
That's great.
And why I'm saying this, I love this topic, and thank you very much for the question. And I teach communication as well. So the first step of communication is transparency.
Yeah.
Right? Clear communication.
Sure.
But this is just halfway through. If I come here and say whatever we were discussing, because we see the world from a completely different perspective, you are going to understand this from your perspective and not necessarily the way from my perspective. So where I believe leaders and communicators sometimes fail in communicating well is validating the understanding. Is when
good.
you are kind of teaching someone to read. Now I have a 6-year-old kid at home. He's kind of learning how to read. He can read the words, but it doesn't mean he understood the concept. Those are completely different things. People can understand your words. You can work on your communication in your kind of how to articulate your words, and they will understand the words. But it's different than confirming if they have understood the meaning.
Right.
And this to me is a good communication, is where you have the ability to not only express yourself in a very clear way, but also making sure that you are influencing in a way that people understand the direction to go.
Yeah. Man, that's powerful. You said a few times when we talk about cross-cultural leadership that everybody sees the world differently, right? How do you help someone who just only sees the world based on their own narrative or their own reference point? So let's say, for example, someone lived in the US and now they have to lead a team in Australia, right? How would you help them navigate the challenges of a international leadership opportunity?
Yeah, that's another great question. So I love this podcast. There is no way, in my opinion, for you to know what is going on with someone else if we do not experience what's going on with this person. In my opinion. Again,
Sure.
That's the way I see the world.
Sure.
So if you come to me and say, "Hey, Camila, I am struggling to lead people in different cultures," the very first thing, instead of me kind of mentoring you or coaching you right up front, is I need to go where you are. Why are you struggling? What are the challenges? And I think you and I have had a previous conversation about how you kind of greet people in the morning.
Yeah.
Some cultures value that more than the others, right? So treating everybody in the same way, in my opinion, is a mistake. And I know that this is a very heated topic because if I treat everybody in the same way, I'm not taking into account their particularities, their kind of their personalities. I'm going to treat you in the way that you appreciate the most, which is different than someone else. You may like kind of the good morning, but I may work with someone else that is an afternoon person, and the good morning is not as relevant.
Sure.
So if I have two people that have completely different expectations and I just decide to be average, the only thing I know is that I'm not going to I'm not going to meet none of the expectations.
Right.
But if I go to where you are, and if I understand that for you it's important the good morning, it's important the morning greeting, then I can tailor this to you.
Right.
So leading internationally, to me, the very first thing is to go where your audience is. And I have had the chance to lead different cultures. And every time I did not follow this rule, I did not get the best from my audience. So that's why I then, again, I learned the hard way sometimes.
Sure.
But yeah, going to where your audience is. What is the reason of that feeling? Sometimes concerns, sometimes fear, right? So sometimes we are giving challenges or we are assigned to roles that we are not necessarily ready, which is part of development, but going where your audience is.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
That's good. And you definitely ruffled some feathers saying that we don't treat everybody the same. But I get where you're coming from. And, I can say for me, I adapt that as well, right? The only consistency in how I treat others is that I give everybody all of me.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because you're right. Someone might not be a morning person, so they might not care for the high energy greeting in the morning. But I do love what you said, because what I understood was meeting people where they are, knowing your team, and really understanding who in your business really helps. Because if you think about it, the frontline employees are the ones that really move the needle.
Oh, totally.
I believe in the inverted pyramid, right? Like the CEO shouldn't be at the top. They are the foundation at the bottom, holding everything up.
Yeah.
I want to talk about company culture.
Love it.
So, and I'm not even going to pose a question. What is your thought on workplace culture?
It's vital. And I don't think people pay enough attention or give the right weight for a company culture before applying for a job. And this is so relevant because this is going to be your surrounding. It's not impossible to change a company culture. And this, to me, is one of the roles of leadership.
Right.
However, if you were not a leader, if you were not at the top, then if you don't like the company culture up front, or even if you're not asking about the company culture, you may get frustrated quite soon. And I have seen that in real life multiple times. I have worked for multinational companies as well as a startup. The culture is completely different. If you do not know where you are stepping into, you're going to get frustrated in the first week. And sometimes the desperation for getting a job may kind of make you blind on things that are very relevant, such as culture. And culture, at the end of the day, to me, is the outcome of the people that are part of that community.
That's good.
So paying attention to the profile that you are hiring, paying attention on the employee experience. This is something that I'm constantly talking about, particularly with HRs, is the employee experience will shape your customer experience.
It's true.
And they don't pay enough attention to this. Not getting back to candidates, not kind of keeping them informed. And whenever the front line kind of starts working, the very first thing you have to do with our clients is keep them informed, getting back to them. How is that possible if that was not my experience?
Right.
So you will start shaping the culture even before the employee starts working for that organization.
You're right.
So my tip for whoever is watching us or will watch us in the future is pay as much attention to the company culture as you pay to compensation, for example, because I do know that compensation is one of the most frequent topics discussed when you are looking for a job. The culture will have a significant impact on your well-being, on your family, on absolutely everything that you're going to do from that moment on.
Yeah, well said. I think, company culture is an oxygen, and people can suffocate if it's toxic.
Totally.
And people can breathe freely if it's healthy.
It's like kind of going to a mountain.
Yeah.
Right? Or living in a very crowded city. In both places, you have oxygen, but the quality of the air is completely different. And I'm not saying that there is any right or wrong, because you do have kind of a cosmopolitan people, you have kind of a nature people, that is totally fine. The problem is if you are a kind of a nature-oriented person and you kind of decide to go for a cosmopolitan type of job.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, that can be a challenge. And I want you to, let's keep this faucet running with tips, because I have two more tip-related questions. So what would you say to the young person, middle-aged person who's becoming a leader for the first time? What would your advice be to him or her who has just got a supervisor role, a manager role, director role? This is their very first time of leading people. What would you say to them?
Yeah, two things. One is go for a mentor. That would be the very first thing I would say, because the majority of the companies that I have the chance to work for, and now I'm assisting them as well, they do not do a great job on supporting people to go from an individual contributor type of role to a managerial role.
Yeah.
And this is such a big transition. So the very first thing is look for a mentor.
Sure.
And the second thing is people will not do things the way you should or the way you would. And that's why this transition is so hard, because most of the times people get promoted to leadership roles because of their individual contributions.
True.
Right? They were very strong on what they were doing, and they get promoted to start leading people, which are completely different things. The fact that you are a strong individual contributor doesn't make you a great leader. And companies fail big time in assessing leadership skills before assigning someone to a leadership role. So one is look for a mentor. And the second one is step into that role, understanding that people will not do things the way you should or the way you would. And this is great, because this is an opportunity for you to learn.
Did you guys hear that? I hope you're taking notes. All right, now we're going to flip it to a whole different dynamic now.
Okay.
So we addressed the person who's experiencing leadership for the first time. What would your tip be for the individual who has been in leadership for 35 years and they're in their, late 50s, early 60s, and now we are in this AI driven, Gen Z type of modern world, what would your advice be to them?
Yeah. Engage with as many people or as many different generations as possible. Because remember, we see the world the way we are. If we do not expand, no matter which role you are, no matter how old you are, if we do not expand the perspectives that we see the world, we're going to get stuck.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes we do have those generational conflicts. It's because a new generation is seeing the world on average from a different perspective compared to yours, and the friction starts. There is no right or wrong. There is the different. But if you are open to the new, if you are open to see the world from a different perspective, because the fact that you are in your 50s or in your 60s and you hold a high kind of a high level position does not put you in a place that knows it all.
Agreed. I hope you guys are taking notes too.
Lots of notes today.
So one of the foundational core principles of the helpful leader is emotional intelligence. And would love to know, what are your thoughts on EQ?
Yeah. First of all, breathe. The world is evolving in such a faster pace.
Yeah.
So look at what's going on with AI. What we are experiencing with AI today is way more robust than it was a year ago, just a year ago. How many years have we had to wait for the industrial revolution?
Sure.
We don't need to go that far, but just think of the internet. When it was originally launched in all of the computers. So things were not changing as fast as it is nowadays.
Yeah.
And I am afraid that we are living in this faster pace where we are unlearning to breathe. Just kind of take a pause. And that's exactly what our mind needs, right? So when you are in a rush, when you are stepping into this automated routine, you don't even pay attention to what you were doing.
You don't.
People don't look in their eyes anymore. It's so insane how many times I had meetings with managers or stakeholders that they were doing something else. And we normalize this. So to me, emotional intelligence starts with you understanding who you are and respecting your boundaries, which is something that we are unfortunately unlearning. And curious enough, this is a journey that I have been forcing myself since I left corporate. Because in corporate, you have so many things to do. You have the meeting, you have your manager, you have your employees, you have your team. You have. And again, the more you give, the more you're going to be asked.
Right. It's so true.
Right.
It's so true.
Because you're a talent, because you deliver this and that. But that's when we step in this kind of auto mode, if you will, and we stop paying attention to the surroundings. That is so relevant. So emotional intelligence to me starts with you. There is no way you can give something you don't have.
Can't pour from an empty cup. Cannot. Wow. Well said. All right. 2 more questions. So you talked about stakeholders, and if I understand this conversation correctly, a lot of what you said, the heart of your business and what you do in leadership is centered around people.
Absolutely.
Many stakeholders, at least those that I've encountered, they want to know about the bottom line. They want to know about my ROI, what's going to bring in the dollar signs. How do you reconcile those two worlds where the passion that you have about people can be understood by a stakeholder who's just worried about profits and loss?
Absolutely. Another tip. You give to get. And I'm going to explain this. The beginning of my career, I was in finance.
Okay.
So I was the finance girl, right? So people used to come to me, I need this amount of money, I needed to approve this budget and this and that. They were constantly asking for something. They never asked me what I needed. right? So when I transitioned from finance to operations, I was on the other side of the fence, if you will, where in finance, I did not know the details of the business, the operations, and how I could translate or could use that to translate into financial metrics.
Sure.
Once I transitioned into operations, I was like kind of in wonderland because I had all of the opportunities, but I carried with me the translation into finance. Okay. The reason why I say you give to get is because most of the stakeholder interactions, people will start asking something instead of giving something. And in my perspective, in my experience, this is not a good start. If I go to you and if I'm from operations and you are from finance, and I ask you, James, what are the challenges that you were facing? What are you struggling with? Camila, I'm struggling with margin. I need kind of a 2 percentage points of margin, or I'm struggling with whichever line of the P&L.
Right.
Then I come back home and I say, how can I, from operations, can help him in a way that he's going to help me in return?
That's good.
Okay. And this is all about communication as well. Most of the times, at least in the area that I work, which is customer experience, people talk about satisfaction. They talk about NPS, which are all sentimental metrics, if you will. But when they go talk to a CFO, that's not the language they use.
No.
And that's why CX leaders get so frustrated. But they go to the CFO asking for money for their own projects.
Sure.
Instead of going to the CFO and say, hey, where are kind of our biggest challenges? And how can I, from operations, from the customer experience, from the client experience, can help close that gap? It completely changed the dynamic. So instead of facing a closed door, you're gonna have all the doors open to you. But again, you first need to give. And then you ask for something in exchange, not the other way around.
That's good. That's definitely an awesome nugget of wisdom, because what I also hear in what you said is we need to be more unified.
Totally.
You have a company of 5,000 employees. It's going to be hard to keep a level of unity, but only through unity can we really have the experience that you're talking about.
But then culture comes in.
Right.
Right? If it comes from the top, that you were constantly giving something to get something in exchange, it creates this flywheel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, last question. So you're building a legacy. You have one in your family with your 6-year-old, and you have one in your business. At some point, all of us will expire. When that time comes for you, what will your legacy be in the corporate world, not as a wife or a mother, but in business? How would you want to be remembered in business when that time comes?
That I was never afraid of taking challenges, which requires being out of your comfort zone constantly. It's not easy. It's easy when you look back and say, oh my goodness, this one worked, but how many other failed, right? So this is the legacy, and there is something that I carry with me, which is being limitless in the sense that I don't want to ever be kind of happy of my comfort zone. It's very comfortable, but that's not why I'm here.
Good for you. It takes a lot of courage to have that mindset. So for everybody listening, how can they follow you? How can they stay connected with what you're doing?
Absolutely. They can find me on LinkedIn,
Okay.
Camila Ferreira Global. I also have my YouTube channel, Camila Ferreira _Global.
Okay.
And my Instagram, Camila Ferreira _Global. Not very creative. Yeah, that's the best way of getting in contact with me. I would love to answer more questions from your audience.
Yeah.
Such great questions that I have today.
Please connect with this general in the industry. And it is creative because it's your name, it's your brand. Camila, thank you so much for joining us today on the Helpful Leader podcast. Thank you guys for listening, for watching from wherever you are. And just remember, this podcast is aimed to help you build teams that bring in revenue, relationship, and retention. Until next time, take care.